laughing at you.
Why?
You're funny looking.
What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and another video. This normally would have been a sit down, but we simply just, you're all over the place with the camera. It's like pointing down here somewhere.
I was fixing my hair, sorry.
Normally with these type of videos we do them kind of sitting down, but we want to get outside, mix it up a little bit. We definitely did not pick the right day for it, or probably the right time. It looks like it's going to rain, it's quite cold, but
We'll make it quick.
yeah, it's just a little tip that we used a lot. Well, we didn't really use it, we just, in our recent cinematic little video we did in the Carlingford one, we used a lot of very still shots, and there's kind of a reason for that, and we just wanted to touch on it in this video and sort of explain why we did it and how you can do it and make effective cinematic videos. How's that? Make sense?
So when we first started making cinematic videos, we always had the mindset that you had to have your shots be moving. So we were always like trying to figure out, okay, how can we move? We were always like panning around things or shooting through things, or I don't know, pulling focus from things, and it felt like sometimes it was just movement for the sake of movement, basically.
True.
So a lot of the time we were shooting in slow-mo, so 120, to try and get that buttery smoothness when you're moving. But the more we have done cinematic videos, the more we've realised that there really is something to be said for a still shot. That felt like a real blunt ending.
Yeah, not a photo
shot.
Not an actual.
Okay, yeah, this probably needs some explanation, I think. So by stills, obviously we don't mean photos, we mean relatively still video shots that have very little movement on the camera side. So whatever is in your shot can be moving, but it's a still shot on this side of the camera, so you're not moving or panning or doing any of those things.
So we literally used this technique for almost every shot in the last cinematic video we did, like I talked about earlier. And ideally when you're doing these type of shots, like Christina said, there isn't much movement on the camera side of things, so you need some sort of movement ideally in the frame. So for example, you could wait till a bird flies past the shot, which just makes it look generally quite cool. Or you could have some grass blowing in the foreground, or some branches moving or something. Or you could also have a person. So if you're filming someone in particular, like obviously Christina was filming me, and the shot she was facing directly as the sun was rising into the sun, and I just walked past.
The sun was rising into the sun.
The shot, we were looking directly at the sun, which was rising in the background, and I just walked past, kind of a bit of a silhouette, and that brings some movement into the shot. So almost all the time with these type of shots, we are kind of being a bit patient, hoping that something will happen in the frame. Someone will move by, a bird will fly past, or the wind will pick up a little bit, or the water will be rippling, something like that. Sometimes you have to be a little bit patient. It really is getting cold now. I know it's still summer, but it is cold. But yeah, with all those shots, like I just said, when you're waiting on some sort of motion, some sort of movement in the frame, you want to obviously make sure that you're holding your camera quite still. This might be easier said than done if your camera is IBIS. The little Fuji X-T30 we use does not, so we really have to concentrate, have the strap around our neck, and keep it as still as possible. It's never going to be perfect, but that's not too bad. It adds a little bit of movement too. The other scenario is if there's absolutely nothing moving in the shot, there isn't gonna be. So the one shot I can think of is, we done shots of like the cool little doors and the nice little houses in our previous video, and the little bars and stuff, and there was also one of a cottage and just the gate there, and there's absolutely nothing moving in that frame. So if I hold the camera or sit the camera in a tripod and the shot's completely still, it is a photo. So you want some sort of movement. So what we try to do is essentially just move the camera ever so slightly.
Would you like a camera in your hand
yeah,
to do that?
this is the example now. This is our Sony, which does have IBIS and would be a lot easier to keep still. So literally what we're doing is this. Have the strap around your neck and literally just move the camera a little bit, just as smoothly as possible. You don't want to be doing this. Even with our Fuji, when we're trying to hold it still, there is going to be a little bit of shake, so we just try and smooth that out a little bit, and it gives it, I mean, it still makes it look like a video rather than a photo, and just gives it a little bit of movement and takes the boredom out of the shot, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, we really did not pick the right day for this. It feels like winter again when we used to make the videos in the winter. Like, well, I'm not really looking forward to winter again, are you?
No, I mean, who is?
I mean, it's nice for photos and everything, and it's cool for videos too, but it's just a lot less fun coming outside when it's cold.
Also, if I had known it was going to be this windy, I probably would not have left my hair like this. Now look at it.
Okay, so let's just do a little example and you'll actually get to see exactly what I'm talking about. So let's say this is the type of shot I want to get. It's kind of cool, got the fence in the foreground, a little bit of grass blowing, the mountains in the background. This is the type of shot where there's probably enough movement for me not to have to worry about doing too much of this. All I need to literally do is focus on the little grass in the foreground or wherever, and because the grass is blowing, I can kind of hold it pretty still, and we've clearly got some movement, which looks kind of cool. Okay, so this is a little bit difficult to find a shot with absolutely no movement because there is wind, but let's take this for example. I've cut out the grass in the foreground which was blowing, and now I've just got a shot past this wooden fence post of the mountain. There is clouds moving over the mountain, but let's imagine this was a day where there is no movement in the scene. If this was literally set on a tripod, it would just look like a picture. So what we would do is add a little bit of movement like this to give that handheld vibe, and it just adds a little bit of motion and a little bit of interest to the scene rather than it literally looking like it's a photo, if that makes sense. It's probably windy on this mic too, so So as I attempted to show you, hopefully that made some sort of sense to you. When there's a shot with no motion in it and you want to add some motion yourself, especially if you have a camera like we said, like ours, that doesn't have IBIS, sometimes you can overdo it, and sometimes even when you're trying to hold it still, it can be a little bit too shaky. And to kind of fix that, we use Warp Stabilizer in Premiere Pro. If you use Premiere Pro, you probably know what that is. If you don't, go to the effects on the right hand side, type in Warp Stabilizer, and if you drag that onto your clip, it will try to stabilize that shot. It won't make it completely still, or at least that's not what you want anyway. It will just smooth out the motion a little bit. If you find that you're noticing a little bit of warping and weirdness that happens with Warp Stabilizer, you can go into the effects settings on that clip and just lower the percentage that it's trying to stabilize it, if that makes sense. You can also go to the advanced tab at the bottom of that and click detailed analysis, which I think does a better job of stabilizing it, and that will give you a smoother, oh, the sky is extremely pink, it's getting cool. It will give you a smoother looking handheld shot. If you're someone that uses Final Cut, we personally don't, but I have seen a lot of other creators use this. In Final Cut you can literally set up those shots, those still shots you want, on a tripod, and then they have a plugin which is to pretty much fake the handheld look. So if you have a tripod shot that's completely still and you drag the plugin onto that shot, it creates motion in the shot, which is actually really cool. Final Cut has some cool stuff when it comes to plugins and stuff, but those are kind of the two ways that you're going to kind of get the final result, I think. Kind of mad that the sky just went completely pink like that.
It's affecting my white balance.
Is it? We're not an auto white balance, people. This is a bit of a nightmare to white balance this with how yellow of a glow. I don't know if this looks ridiculous or not. It looks strange to the eye even, so.
Am I orange?
If this looks you're a little bit, but I mean, to my eye you are a little bit too. Alright.
So that is just one little tip that we wanted to share with you for your cinematic videos. Basically, don't think that your shots are boring just because your camera is still, is basically what we've learnt. Sometimes you can think that your shots need to have something or some sort of panning or movement, but the simplicity of a simple still video shot can sometimes just add a really cinematic, nice look and feeling to your video. And of course it works especially well if you're going for a more kind of slow-paced, chilled out cinematic vibe, which a lot of the time that's exactly what we're heading for. No, which a lot of the time that's exactly what our goals are for the videos. So yeah. Anything to add?
I mean, I think that covered it. No, I think that is pretty much it. Like Christina said, it really can work in your videos and give them a nice sort of relaxed vibe. So yeah, maybe try that in your next videos. Don't always worry about movement, incorporate a mix of both, or maybe a lot more still type video shots, and see how that goes for you. Just a quick little video. We thought it was a cool little tip that you might be interested in. It's
Certainly
something,
helped us.
yeah, it's something we've learned and we incorporate in all our cinematic videos and photo vlogs. So yeah, hopefully it's helpful.
Got it?
I believe so. I think it's time to end it. So if this one was helpful, guys, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, and as we always say, take it easy.
Don't be a stranger.
Can't remember last time we finished a video outside. Feels like a long time ago. How orange the sky is.